Yo, what's up with it? It's your boy Chris B right here at It's Going Up Podcast. I got my road dogs here, man. We got
It's AB. What's going on?
Man, we got M Square in the house. Let's go.
hey. So what's up, world? Just want to give a shout out. Anybody out there that wants to be a part of the show, don't hesitate. Don't be shy, I guess, to hit us up and just I think a lot of times people get to a place where they think like they should call me first. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I kind of feel that sometimes, like, take the initiative, man. Just come on. Let's just make something happen.
We don't bite. We don't bite.
Yeah, I know that there's always just like some anxiety whenever you're first trying something out, or like, they don't. There's also a fear of rejection, like, oh, I'm gonna ask to go on, they'll be like, oh, I can't get you on or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if we can't get you on right away, like, so we got other guests, we'll schedule you up, man. And there's not an agenda or anything else. Don't think that you gotta, if you wanted to come in here, you're gonna have to be a specific way or talk about a specific thing. I really like to think of this podcast as like for us having conversations with a little, with a little religious twist to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it could be just
Definitely.
more of just a personal thing, and we could just see where it goes. I'd like to hear some good storytellers out there, man. I feel like I could spin a good yarn. You know what I mean? But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I want some people to come in here and like really just like
Blow our minds.
Like I'm still, to be honest, I'm still waiting on DJ M Squared backstory. I mean, I heard spots and bits and pieces of it. You know what I mean? I know you know my backstory. We haven't gone over it yet
I
either.
was thinking earlier today. I was like, we already heard a little bit about AB. We heard Matt. We heard Rudy, and I'm like, nobody's asked me about my life. Nah, but there will be a time for that. And when I think
what
about
better
it,
time than now, man?
That's what I'm trying to say. Let's do a deep dive, man. Let's talk about who we got here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just kind of like took off running. We hit the ground running and everything else. I don't know if we really set up a solid foundation on who we are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
To be honest, I can't really even think of all the depths, like to go on deep into my testimony. I've never really like gone deep since I've been walking with Christ. There's a lot of stories out there that I haven't told. Why, I have no idea, but I know that, I guess because I'm more focused on talking about Jesus and the newer things, right? Instead of talking about my past all the time, it kind of does. Like you were talking about earlier, everybody's past is pretty much the same. You know what I mean? And I think, and you could be right. What you said last time, you said something about how it just sounds so repetitive. Everybody's testimony. Like, let's just get into the reason why we're here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like everybody like, has their story about what they went through and everything.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like a lot of people get stuck up on a lot of those details. You know what I mean? It's not like that aren't prevalent to the story. Like, hey, let's keep it moving. Let's go ahead. But like, they'll be like, oh yeah, so I was like 6 and I only had like one pair of shoes, and there was like hole in the bottom of the pair of shoes, and the socks. I remember getting the socks, man. And it's like, okay, no, I was young, didn't have a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Obviously that's oversimplification, but like let's keep it moving. And especially if it's very similar to a lot of stories that you're telling, like, okay, then everybody's already got an understanding of that foundation. So you can just kind of like set it like, hey, yeah, I was a criminal, went to jail, because like that's what everybody's story was at that one thing. Like, hey, I was a criminal, jail, prison, and this is what I did whenever I decided to turn my life around. Everybody knows the rest that story before, unless you're unique. Like, I don't want to hear it 12 times.
I can already hear, I'm not gonna say the religious side of it, but those who are walking in Christ, like they're gonna quick to say, well, the Bible says by the word of your testimony. Okay, I get that. By the word of your testimony and the blood of the Lamb.
Yeah.
We can. That's the way you can defeat Satan. But it's like, I believe the testimony is not my past and what I did when I wasn't saved. I think it is, what moment was it when Christ transformed me? You know what I'm saying? That the moment that Christ saved me, that is the testimony. Not, oh well, I used to sell a lot of drugs, and okay, where's God in that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But now I'm a new creation, and they kind of want to glorify the old stuff, and it's like, no, but the real testimony is that moment when you were at your lowest, and the Holy Spirit like radically changed you.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It
touched you,
radicalized me.
when my spiritual eye was open. For real talk.
No,
that's
definitely.
the testimony. That's the testimony, not hey, I used to sell drugs, but then I got away with it.
But I think all of that plays in together. Like the backstory leading up to your salvation,
Yeah.
because they call it a testimony. What's the root word there? Test.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
were you tested in life that God ultimately, hindsight 2020, had his hand in the mix that whole time?
Yeah,
You know?
but I think where people miss it is like when you're telling a story, right? Because like that's basically what you're doing is you're sitting there sharing your story, your life story with other people.
Yeah.
It's like you have to read the room, right? Like if you could tell an exciting story and make people fall asleep because you tell it wrong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? There's a art to storytelling. Like the gift of gab is what they say I have. You know what I mean? You don't want to sit there on these repetitive copy and paste. I would say copy and paste
Yeah,
a lot, but
that
like
is
you
what
just
it
don't
is.
want to sit
Yeah.
there and say the same things. Like let's get to the uniqueness of your story.
Yeah.
Why are you unique?
But it's even crazier, right? A crazier story is that we all think we're unique, right? But once we tell our stories, how alike we all really
definitely.
are.
Yeah.
And that's just being strangers, So us growing up in semi relative circumstances, right? We weren't dirt poor, right? We all have food in our mouths.
Yeah.
We all gonna kind of face those same situations, especially us Mexicanos, where drugs, sex, and money. We all grew up in those 90s where that's what was popular. So ultimately, that's gonna influence on how we grew up,
Yeah.
especially growing up in the groups that we all kind of grew up in. I know we all probably kind of grew up in the same type of groups, those gangs and trying to be with those those same type of people and different parties that we shouldn't have been at our ages, in the first place, doing things that we shouldn't have been doing in the first place. So it's crazy how it works. Like it's hard to make a unique story when a lot of us are really alike more than we know.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the gift.
Yeah.
That's the the parts that you have to hone in on, because if you watched your favorite show and
Yeah.
they were just going over the same thing every time, then you're gonna get bored.
Your uniqueness was you're a ballerina when you were 17.
So earlier I was reading in Galatians 6, right? And on verse 14 it says this. It says, this is Paul. He's talking. He says, "As for me, may I never boast about anything except the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen.
Because of that cross, my interest in the world has been crucified, and the world's interest in me has also died. Doesn't matter whether we have been circumcised or not. What counts is whether we have been transformed into a new creation."
Amen.
And a lot of times I see it a lot. We kind of do unknowingly, kind of veer off the topic or the main subject of what Jesus did on the cross. I say it a lot. Like, we gotta stay focused on what the point is and it's only one thing, and what he did on the cross, and
Yeah.
that was it. We kind of get sidetracked with everything that's going on in the world, but God, the apostles, they said it plenty of times. Don't worry about what's going on. Stop worrying about that. Don't
Focus
get
on
distracted.
what we need to focus on. Yeah.
Because then you begin to put your trust in other things instead of your trust in the Lord at the beginning.
Yeah.
But going back to testimonies, I think what you said last time is correct. Like, I really think so too, because that day out there at that event, I was like, it was the same thing over and over, and it kind of if someone else wasn't following Christ like I was, they're gonna just say, nah, let's go, it's boring.
Yeah.
Facts. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna leave. They're not gonna hear the point, the main thing, what we're trying to talk about, because everybody's so focused on their talent and their past.
Yeah,
you know?
everybody was trying to go over how bad their life was.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's actually a real like attribute of somebody who grew up in poverty. If you ever notice that, whenever you see a bunch of people who didn't, they sit there and talk about like, oh, I got the new Bentley, like, oh, my Maybach is so, you know. But you get a whole bunch of hood people, and they're all like, man, when I grew up, we didn't even have
selling drugs.
Yeah, we didn't even have bologna, but like bologna, man, bologna was our Thanksgiving dinner. What are you talking about? Like, man, you got Thanksgiving? Oh snap, bro! I had to wait till my birthday to get a meal. You know, like everybody, they were trying to out gutter each other. You know what I mean? And it's like, hey, we all play that game, dude. I don't need if you're gonna stand up in front of the masses and try to convince somebody that making the change is worth making. Sitting there and trying to out gutter each other on a stage about how you were in prison and sold drugs and everything else. Now, if you want to include that, we can breeze past that. Go through the checklist. Hey, I had all these things that happened to me, right? But this is where I changed.
Or just
don't
simplify
spin
it, you know?
like that's like 90% of their story.
Just
is the
simplify
bad
it.
parts. You know what I mean? Like,
Just simplify it. Look, I ain't had no perfect life, but what Jesus did for me, simple.
Easy done. Yeah.
Hey, I am not who I am today like I was back then.
yeah,
You know
but,
what I'm saying?
But I do understand that there is a simple level of respect that we give people if their trail was harder than most, right?
True, yeah.
So you do want to highlight that the struggles you went through. You don't want I don't want to completely neglect the things that you went through in your past that turned you into the person you were, but at the same time, I don't need to know what color you colored your hair. You know what I'm saying? Like you could skip past that stuff. Like let's get to the meat and potatoes, bro. I don't even like sides. You know what I mean? Like I like the main encore or entree. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want to hear. And it's like if I have to sit here and wait for everybody to get through their salads and their soups and their breads and all that kind of stuff, I'm like I'm full by the time the entree comes through. You know what I'm saying? Like I got full off the appetizers. Like you gotta pace it.
And I really think the point they're trying to get to is that like it when you're at your lowest, most of the time it's someone that was locked up, right?
Yeah.
That's when someone's at their lowest. And I think the point they're trying to reach is that even at your lowest point, God is gonna find you. God is gonna reach you. God is gonna reveal himself to you. And I think, you know, I see what you're saying, you know, how
I'm not trying
and
to
how Chris was I'm not
saying
testimony.
testimony.
No, not at all. I mean, if that's your testimony, God bless you, and if it works for you,
keep doing you, man.
Keep doing it.
Don't worry about what I'm saying. I'm just trying to bring up something to
I
talk
think
about.
I think what they're trying to do is represent is that Jesus will find you at your lowest point. And most of the time, that's when he works the most in your life. You know, is at your low. Because when you're, I think there's a verse. It's gotta
be a moment where it wasn't you or anybody else that got you out of that situation. It has to be a God moment. It has to be a but God
moment.
You know what I mean?
But the
hashtag
thing,
but God.
but the whole thing about it is like there was one guy on there who was sitting there talking, like the majority of his testimony was about how, you know, there was this fight where they had to catch Cell, right? And do their thing. And he broke down why the fight happened, who ended up fighting, what was the result of the fight, when he could have just been on like, yeah, man, I was in prison. There was people out there fighting. It was dangerous, I had to watch my back every day, but I knew that God was there. You know what I mean? Like you could have shortened that down to 3 sentences, but you spent like 10 minutes. They were spending like 10, 20 minutes up there. And they were supposed to only be there for 15. Their set was 15 minutes. They spent 20 minutes on their testimony before they started their material.
Half of that time was like just talking.
And they were going like 30, 45 minutes. And I was like, that would be cool if you just didn't say the same thing the last guy just said.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're taking extra time now, which is cool if there felt like a reason. But now every single artist is taking extra time saying the exact same story. It's like, come on, let's get through it. You know what I mean? And let's stick to the main part. Let's give examples. Let's play this out, right? Let's role play.
No names.
All right, so this is my story. I'm Abel Solis Jr., right? I was born in Big Spring, raised in Abilene, moved to San Antonio. Okay, when we were young, this is my older brother here, right? He's my senior by like 2+ years, right? Almost 3 years, something like that. And we grew up together. So right around the time our life kind of took a dive, I was about 6. My dad, we have different fathers. My father and my mother had split up, and
you know what's so crazy though is that like even though we were raised in the same household, our testimonies are not the same.
They're not.
Like our story is not the same.
What bugged me didn't bug him, and
Yeah.
vice versa. You know.
Yeah.
Or the things he saw and remember, I don't. So a lot of them I don't remember. I'm like, man, I don't remember that.
Yeah.
So go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna go too much into story. It's just this is just the outline. You know what I mean? So
Synopsis.
yeah, you know what I mean. It's the back flap of the book. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, so yeah, so about 6. I was about 6, so that puts you about 8, almost 9 years old. And there was a divorce, and my mom and my siblings, we all stayed in Abilene. My dad moved to Big Spring. At that point, we moved in with the grandparents. Then there ended up being a little misunderstanding, and then we ended up having to move out. And that's when we started living in a van.
By the river.
Yeah, well, it was by the park, but yeah,
No.
basically, that's when we lived in a van in Nelson Park parking lot, and and we stayed there for a bit, and then we went to the Noah projects after that,
Yeah.
right? Then we went to the projects. We stayed there for about a year, some change, something like that, right? And then because I remember going through Christmas at the projects,
Yeah.
and then after the projects, then we moved to like somewhere on the south side, and then that's
Yeah. We moved a lot. Like
we
almost
moved a
every year.
lot.
Every year we were somewhere else.
Every and like I said, we would move to a place, and we just long enough so that way we can get evicted, basically, and that's the way it worked out. And then so we would just move into new ratty places and small places and just try to make it and survive. And then so I ended up joining a gang at 9. Was when my brother jumped me in the gang. So
Something like that.
yeah, no, I was 9 at the Jamaica. I
That was-
remember
that
everybody
was,
knows the story because I had to go tell mom that somebody jumped me.
That was the year of like blood in, blood out, and all that. So
Yeah,
we were
I'm
just
telling
little
you,
kids trying to be.
We were all influenced by those movies,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So I got jumped in the gang at 9, right?
It's a
little-
group of
little-
guys. It's
little
not
puppet.
really a gang.
Yeah. Well, I was Flacco at the time because I used to be
Oh, yeah,
skinny.
Flacco.
But yeah, so I got jumped in the gang at the Jamaica in Abilene, and then we started pushing weight. Well, we not right away. I wasn't 9 years old when I first started pushing weight, but that's really whenever we started smoking more. Started smoking cigarettes when I was 6. Started drinking when I was 11. Started smoking bud when I was like 9, 10 years old.
Yeah.
That pushed all the way through till I joined the military. Really.
I think it had a lot to do with my mom was a single mother and she like worked 2 jobs and go to school. So it's like
At one point, she had 3 jobs, and then she was
really
going to
not
night school.
there, And as a matter of fact, she said we were on the phone the other day and she actually told me that she's like, I want to apologize for, and I was like, for what, Ma? And she brought it up, and I was like, Ma, you were a single mother, trying to provide. You
You did the
great."
best.
Yeah, she
you
was-
can.
she was in
Like,
over
you
her
did
head.
better
Yeah.
She
than-
was in over her head. You know what I mean? And she was just trying. She was drowning,
She's
trying
like,
to stay afloat.
she told me, she goes, for not being there for you. I said, Mom, you were there. You might not have been there like physically, but it's because you had to go and do. We knew what's up.
Yeah.
It's not like we were like we grew up thinking like, oh, I hate my mother. She was never there. No, we knew what's up. We knew Mom had to go and provide. We knew she had to get on her grind and hustle. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So we appreciate what she did.
And we realized that later, in our life, how much of a struggle that was for her. As a kid, you're like, oh, Mom's not here. She's working.
I took it as an opportunity to do whatever I want.
Yeah.
I'm all right, Mom. Have a good day at work. Let's go at it.
She's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the older you get, you realize,
Yeah.
maybe they weren't
Be more
as,
appreciative about it,
yeah. So,
Yeah. So, I was smoking and drinking at a very young age. It went on, that went through, and then we started about like 11, 12 years old. We started, I started pushing a little weight at the school, pre-rolls and nickel bags and stuff like that at the
little
school.
joints.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
$2.
Yo, I was selling sticks, five a piece, 3 for $10 if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? And it was like, that's just the way it was. And they were shiesty little
Yeah.
blunt wraps and I sell that at school. That's what I did. That's how I made money. And that went on until I was about 16. All right, that's whenever I wasn't allowed to go back to school. I had to start an adult program. Finished
I
my
kind of came back from San Antonio at that time, right?
yeah.
I
And-
remember I was.
So you still had family down here, or you came down here on your own?
Yeah, well, when I first moved down here, yeah, of course we have family from like our cousins and stuff. But,
Yeah.
me and my sister had moved down here. I dropped out of high school, and me and my older sister moved down here for like a year and a half. And
Just
Huh?
like just
yeah, because
San
she
Antonio was
wanted
like, let's go to San
she
Antonio.
wanted something new, And so I was just roaming the streets. And so my sister was like, come with me. And I was like, you know what? Let's go. I ain't trying to be here no more. So I went with her, came over here with her, met some cool people. But then for like a year and a half, just kind of bouncing back and forth, sleeping on couches. It was like my mom came down for a visit and she was about to leave. She was about to leave back to Abilene. She's like, why don't you come back with me? And I was like, I ain't got nothing else. I ain't doing nothing. So let's go. So then I went back. Yeah, we're living on that house by Pioneer, North Third or something like that. I mean South.
Yeah. You're talking about the one, Don Juan Street, old Don Juan, the 2-story house.
No, not that one. In that area.
Oh, you're talking about Peach Street, the duplex?
No.
No.
It was a house. Okay, you know where the Kmart was, the big K?
No.
Okay, South First and Pioneer.
Okay.
It's like literally right here. The house on I think it was the second house.
Right by the tracks?
Somewhat. It was close to the tracks.
I
Anyways,
don't remember.
Yeah, so that, and I was sleeping on the couch there, and that's when I would go up to the school every lunch. Remember, I was up on the school. I think I was bringing weed to you or something like that.
I don't
too.
remember, man. I
I
don't
would always
remember
come
that.
to your lunch. I was always coming up there messing with you.
I don't remember
You
that.
don't remember
I
that?
don't remember
See what I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah.
You don't
So
remember each other's-
I was like 14.
Yeah, you were in. I think you were
15.
in ninth grade.
Well, yeah,
Ninth
I
grade.
didn't make it past ninth grade, so I had to be. there's no other option but ninth grade because I was ninth grade twice, and then had to go to adult program after that.
And then after that, shoot, I don't remember after that, man. I don't even remember where I went after that because that was when Mom was ready to move to San Antonio herself.
Yeah,
She sent you off with your dad, and then she ended up taking off San
Well,
Antonio. I was left
that was a
there.
couple years later. I was 16 at that
I don't
time.
remember where
You're
I was
skipping.
at.
You're skipping around the timeline, bro.
I'm just trying to remember what I can remember.
Yeah. Well, so then you came back. We ended up moving a couple other times because I remember we went to Westridge at a certain point and everything else.
I think that's what it was called, West.
Westridge?
Yeah.
Okay. I know what
Yeah.
you're talking about then. Sliding glass back door. And then we had the white German Shepherd, Lancelot.
Yeah. That was
Okay.
actually Lolly's dog. or
Yeah, it was
something?
Lolly's dog. Yeah. So then that happened. And then Angel ended up getting shot at. Angel's house ended up where we dug the bullets out of the window seal. And then we
I
moved
think
right
Anthony
after
was
that.
living there at that time, wasn't he?
Huh?
Anthony was living there at
No,
that time.
it was Angel because
No, because Angel was
the
already.
nieces were Savannah
Angel
Vanessa.
was already in. Was in
Or
San
maybe they were
Antonio.
visiting and Savannah and Vanessa were in that room that got shot. Because the Savannah and Vanessa were in the room that they shot that window.
I don't remember.
But anyway, so that happened, and then we moved to San Antonio, and then I went to Holmes, and then I couldn't go to Holmes no more, and
Back to Abilene.
came back to Abilene to stay with you for a year and a half. Oh, it was like almost 2 years, like a year and a half or something like that.
I don't know.
And then went to
That
Job
was a long
Corps,
time.
got my welding diplomas, and then joined the military.
And it was so bad. We went. Remember we went to go steal shoes from Academy. You ever done?
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah,
You
we
know how Academy is like the only store that keeps both pair of
Together.
shoes in the box,
we used to go in there and just take off our shoes and put on new ones.
and put our old shoes in the box.
Yeah.
So they
Allegedly.
ended up
Allegedly.
coming. They sent somebody that we knew over because they got the license plate of the car that we were in. It was my friend's car,
Yeah.
and so they went to his house and said, "If you don't want to get in trouble, because we know you didn't get down, y'all need to go get those shoes back." And then they're banned from Academy, but we're not gonna press no charges. So of course, my homeboy's big brother comes over. Is like, "Hey, y'all need to give up the shoes." So we gave up our shoes for like a whole week. We had no shoes. Me and my brother. Yeah.
I don't remember that.
You don't remember that? All we had was our work shoes.
I remember doing snatch and runs at the mall though.
Yeah, man. Can't believe you don't remember that. Like that's the funniest one I always remember. I'll never forget it because they were gonna press charges on Joey. It was me, you, we went with Joey.
Oh, the Joey.
Yeah.
Really?
So, so his brother came and was like, "Hey, y'all need to give up those shoes." But anyways, yeah, we did crazy stuff.
Yeah,
A lot of
man.
crazy stuff,
But yeah, but I mean, then
just like anybody else.
and then I don't know. Like I guess I met Ashley, my wife, and I was just thinking like if I want a serious relationship, then I can't be living like this.
Definitely.
So I was like, I got two choices. One, I could just be in this relationship until it, fizzles out, or if I could be serious and be a man, like, and I had a decision to make. And that at that point, I was just thinking like, I want to have a family and I want to give them a life that I wish that I had. So I that was my epiphany moment where I was just like, okay, this life isn't going to work. If I keep it going, it's not going to end well. Doesn't mean I got to stop. I could choose to go that way if I want to, you know what I mean? And see where it ends, which is, I don't think that there's a good ending to that story. Or I could try to, man up. I was going to join the military for just a few years, like everybody says, what I mean? Like just going to join for a few years, get a little background and then go and apply for a job. And then I decided to stay in, I did the full 20. But yeah, so that's kind of like breaks down very simplistically how I see my past.
That was still 15 minutes, over 15 minutes.
Well, because I kept getting interrupted. Okay, kept getting interrupted.
I'm trying to help you.
You only had a 20-minute set.
Yeah, so, but yeah, like, and that's everything. But that wasn't even a testimony. That's just where I came from.
Yeah, who
you know what I mean? And like there, you could pick any stage of any of that I told you, and I got a story that'll blow your socks off. I swear to God. Yeah. I swear to, and like I said, I'm good at it. So we'll dive more into that as we get more.
Very creative with his stories.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. I elaborate. Literally, I was sitting on the couch, but the story goes I was fighting the cops, right, with nothing but a Swiss Army knife in my underwear
and duct tape. Yeah, man. Now we all have some crazy stories, you know what I mean? But it just different situations, different circumstances, and they all, and now look where all the past lead us.
Yeah.
Same spot.
So yeah. Back to what the original point I was trying to get at was like, we've got to, and I said it last time too. I said it, we've got to get more creative with these things because we have to evolve with the world.
Yeah.
And this younger generation, they're just not going to cut it. It's not going to cut it that hey, you had to sleep on the floor, and you know what I'm saying, and while your dad sold drugs and your mama was a hooker, they're just not gonna. It's not gonna work for them. They're gonna be like, okay, and so it's gotta be like straight to the point. Like these younger generations, they want, okay, what are you talking about? What's
they'll
point?
scroll right past your video, buddy.
Yeah,
right to the next one. That makes them laugh
yeah.
in 7 seconds. You know what I mean? Like,
and so I think when we go out there and we do events and stuff, we need to get to the point. And the point is, like I read earlier, we gotta keep it with what he did on the cross for us.
How he saved us.
I say it multiple times. I say it all the time. Like, we can't get distracted on everything that's going on. Can't get distracted on my own glory. I want to talk about my past, right? No, we have to stick to what the main course is. You like to eat the meat. You don't want the sides, right? You want meat.
Pause.
Amen.
Amen.
I'm like, what happened?
No, you don't pause. You're not familiar with pause.
I'm not that young. What does it mean?
Pause is more like the no homo today. You know what I mean? Like you said, you looked at me dead, made eye contact and everything, said, you want to eat meat? And I was like, pause, bro. Pause, bro.
Oh, my
Hold
Lord.
on. Wait a minute. What are we talking about here?
Man.
This is a holy podcast.
You lost me.
Oh, my
pause,
God.
man.
Yeah. You say pause and like, hold on, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like,
All right,
clarify what you just said, you know?
That's funny,
But
man.
okay, so back to what I was saying, right? Like, these young generations, like, let's get to the point. Jesus saved my life, man.
Yeah.
And did it on the cross to save you too. You know what I'm saying? Like, seek him. You know what I'm saying? Too many people are trying to seek the right pastor, the right church, the right group, and they're not finding the right ones, right? Because they're too focused on man. Real talk. Let's focus on the Lord. What do you do for, call on to him wherever you're at home, washing dishes, at home, taking a shower, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? What he did on the cross is way more than enough.
Yeah, absolutely.
Real talk.
More powerful than any
it
story.
doesn't even stop there. Like when you think about it too, it's like, okay, all that was needed in my eyes, right, was the sacrifice. But now if I call on him, he's also going to help me move forward and get through my tribulations and trials, and he's going to give me answers and
He sure will.
And he's going to illuminate a path.
He sure will.
And he's gonna and if I'm dedicated and I pay attention and I ask the right questions, then it's gonna lead me towards an eternal paradise. when all he had to do was sacrifice, but yet he's still moving in these ways. And it's all like, okay, like there was only one thing, that met the requirement, of what we needed was like, hey, we need somebody to go down for our sins. And he did that. And then on top of that, he went back up there and said, by the way, for the next, so many thousand years, I'm going to help guide y'all down the way too. You know what I mean? And then it's like, well, what do I got to do to get that guidance? Which, dude, just call my name.
Yeah.
Just call my name and I'm gonna be there. And it's all like, wow, you know what I'm saying? Like whenever you see these things all the time, like, oh, that friend that comes in clutch every time, like, hey, they got this one clip, it's from like The Departed or The Town or whatever, and it's Ben Affleck, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna need your help. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna do some damage, we're gonna hurt some people.
Yeah,
and you know what I'm saying? He's all like, and you can't ask me no questions. He goes, all right, whose car are we taking? That's Jesus. You know what I mean? Like that's how hard he'll ride for you. And it's like, okay, so you got all these things and all this help and all this stuff are lined up to you, and it's like that isn't even required. You know what I mean? Like he did everything he needed. You should have to sit there and figure the rest of this out because all the groundwork was laid for you already.
Come on, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So hey, we did all the heavy lifting's done. Just walk the path. And it's like, no, I'll do you one better. How about I walk with you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How about I hold your hand? How about through your hardest times, all you do is you call out my name and I'll be right there to make sure that you're gonna make it through. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just so much extra on top of it. It's like if we're toddlers and our parents are walking us to make sure we don't fall, and it's like, people are just like, yeah, don't hold my hand, get away from me. I want to go play in the street. You know what I mean? It's all like, and you know what I'm saying? But then the way that it's designed is like God's gonna let you play in the street.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because like Darwinism, you know what I mean? It's all like FAFO, you know what I mean? like you want to go play in the street? Go. I'm telling you, this is the way you need to go. But you want to play in the street, you go. And then you decide not to listen and you go out and you play in traffic. You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy whenever you look at the dynamic of it.
Though, but what's so great is that if you do go play in that street and something happens, guess
Yeah.
what? He's right there waiting for you to come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there will be a time. Don't get it twisted. There will be a time when you go play in that street and you turn around and he's not there. Because the Bible says there will be a time when you call on his name, he will not
answer.
back.
Yeah.
You will seek for him and he will not be found. There will be a time. So praise God that we do have this time right now, that in the morning his mercies are new every morning.
Amen.
You know what I'm saying? That's what we were reading the other day when I was at my sister's house. We were having a little Bible study. And the whole thing I was asked, so we read a little section about Moses. I think, did we talk about it last time?
I don't know.
About the staff?
No.
And they were in the wilderness? Anyways.
Maybe a little bit.
I think we did, right? But, all of them, we went around the table and we're like, what stood out to you in that little section? And they all said that they all complained. They all complained and they were blaming God. But what touched me, though, was that even through all that, he still made a way for them to come back to him. You know what I'm saying? Even though they cursed his name and they were mad at him, he loved them that much to even say, you know what? Okay, I'll make a way for you to redeem yourself, and come back. Man, there's no other God like him.
Yeah.
And he's not just a God. He's creator. That has to mean more than just.
Yeah, I heard somebody say something that I really like the way that they word it. They say God is the blanket that we put over the unknown or the unexplained. You know what I mean? Like we can't explain what he is, so we just blanket it with the word God. You know what I mean? Or Yahweh, right? Yeah. Or whichever it is that you believe. Because
all of them.
Because you can't. There's no way that I could sit there and accurately describe and be correct on what God is. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like nobody knows. I mean, they talk about the angels. Angels don't even make angels in the biblical sense don't even make sense. You know what I mean? Like they're crazy. You know what I mean? Like,
they're kind of psychedelic.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it's like if that's an angel,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Then what is God? You know what I mean? Like there's an answer it's a question you can't answer.
I think there's only a couple people in the Bible that have seen God, because in the Bible I forgot. Well, I'm not good at going to the verses, but it does say, if you were to see him, you would die. You would burn up. You can't look at him. That you would burn up. And I think there's only one person, maybe two, that was actually able to be in the presence of God.
Well, I mean, if you look at every single instance wherever there is divine intervention, where there is something seen,
Yeah.
right? An actual visual vision or something like that. What's the very first word? Be not afraid.
Yeah.
Look,
Because it's-
be not afraid, because what does that tell you? If it says it every single time, that means that every single time that person looked at him and was scared.
And every
know what I
person
mean?
that God did appear to them, it said that they fell straight to the floor because
Yeah.
it was just in trembling and fear. It was just so much. It was just like a power. The energy was just so tremendous that they couldn't look. Like they couldn't. I'm pretty sure they tried, but they could not even
couldn't,
look
yeah.
up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think a couple of them described them as a bright light,
Yeah.
so a blinding bright light, and just pure power, just energy like you wouldn't even believe. You ever gotten real close to like a high voltage
Oh, yeah.
transformer? You could
You
feel
that
the vibration,
Yeah.
the energy
Yeah.
from it. So just imagine.
Well, you got to think about it. I mean, if we're talking about something that has enough power, right? I mean, because to us it's going to be unlimited power because we don't understand those limits to be able to create. But maybe there are limits. There's no way we're going to understand his limits. You know what I mean? So it's like to us it's unlimited power. To be able to have unlimited power to a point where you can create stars and
Yeah.
planets. You got to think of the tremendous amount of energy that's going to take alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is a being that we're speaking about right now. There's no way that we can conceive or conceptualize what that even means.
So here's a little twist. Maybe it's a question for you, Chris, right? So in my brain, I'm thinking like, God created us. Like, what happened with the dinosaurs? Did he like make a mistake? Like, oh crap,
And
those
you know
don't
what?
work.
There are scriptures that do talk about. They describe these creatures as dinosaurs.
And dragons.
Just
Dragons,
example-
yeah.
And unicorns.
Definitely.
I don't know
and
about
I don't know
unicorns.
about unicorns.
No, the unicorns are in there. Yeah.
We'll have to
Let's
search
Google
it,
it.
search it. But you know, just extinct, bro. I
Yeah.
guess. You
So
know,
that's
just
my
eventually
thing is like
died
like
away.
what
I don't know.
did he like make them first and then like erase
Well-
comment and then like here's
You gotta
humans
understand.
or
There are other artifacts, books that they found that are thousands of years old that they didn't include in the Bible. Like
Yeah.
for one, the Book of Enoch. It has a
Oh,
lot of
wow.
stuff in there.
he's right.
You know,
Yeah, I know.
Yes, the word unicorn appears 9 times in the King
Wow.
James version of the Bible.
what does it describe it as?
It
It
says right here. Let's see.
It describes it as a unicorn, bro.
As a horse. with a-
Context.
No, it's not.
The
I don't
Bible
think it's a horse.
describes the Reem as an untamable, fierce, and powerful animal, not a mythical creature. It shows up in Numbers 23:22, Job 39:9 and 10.
So what
I
I
forget
gathered,
that.
what I've gathered from the explanation of a unicorn in the Bible is like it's just a one-horned animal, like a rhino.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the one-horned rhino is a unicorn by definition.
Never thought about that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. You know, like
In
so.
technical terms.
Yeah, in
Correct.
technical terms, you know what I mean. So like, but if you look at the description of the animals, like it could be a rhino. You know what I mean, and that could be what they're calling a
And
unicorn.
what was it like?
So it says God.
beast.
This is Numbers 23:22, KJV version. It says God brought them out of Egypt. He hath, as it were, the strength of a unicorn.
See, and it talks about it like a powerful animal.
Yeah.
So it makes me think of something along those lines, and it could have looked something completely different through evolution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but I think you brought up a very very interesting subject, right? People, because I've had this talk with dinosaurs with people who are extremely religious, right? And I mean, there's people who believe that the dinosaurs were the fossils were put there by the devil himself to
throw us off.
to throw off human human minds
Bring
to
that
think that that there was creation before us and it's fake.
up. It's just
And
not.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think it's the way we were grown, with the way they try to teach us.
So
you know.
it says, within theological context, God is believed to have created dinosaurs as part of a very good creation to express love, display power, and contribute to ecological diversity.
Okay, but is it in the Bible? That's what I'm saying. Is there a
Let's see.
scripture that talks about this dinosaurs?
Well, I mean,
I know they
there's
describe.
a lot
There's
in
some
there.
in there that describe it.
Like like these
what
these
a dinosaur would have been.
I mean, is it?
No,
It's got giants and everything else. And
Yeah.
you got to remember though, because like when they start looking at the plants from back in different eras of the world, not just humanity, the plants gave off different oxygen levels, and the O2 levels were a lot more dense. Which whenever it's more dense, vegetation grows bigger,
Yeah.
animals grow bigger. We have giant people, we have giant lizards, we have giant dogs and giant fish. You
Well,
know what I mean?
giant people were definitely in the Bible.
Oh,
We
for
know that.
sure, they're all
And-
over the Bible.
And I don't know about dragons, but I know right now it says
in Revelations.
it's
Yeah,
oh yeah, the Revelations.
There's dragon. Yeah.
It says the Bible does not explicitly use the word dinosaur as it was coined in 1841, long after the texts were written. However, some Christians believe creatures described in the Old Testament, such as Behemoth and
Behemoth?
Behemoth and
Leviathan.
Leviathan. Look at you, man. You're already.
I mean, I've read the Bible multiple times.
And,
You know?
and Job 40 and 41 represent dinosaurs as a large reptile. Others interpret these as symbolic or mythological creatures. So, in a way, yes, in a way, no. Like, I guess it's the way you take it
they
for
like
in
describe
context.
them in their of what we say dinosaurs are today. It describes it in there, but
It
I
says,
don't believe that they're as old as they say they are.
yeah,
You know, they you know how they go on there and they're like, oh yeah,
Millions
this rock
of
was
years.
found 5 billion years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
So in Job 40 and 15 through 24, it describes as a massive creature with a tail like a cedar tree, which some argue fits. I don't even know how to say that dinosaur's name, but yeah. So, I guess in a way, right?
Yeah.
That
I want to touch on something you said about that blanket thing. Say that again.
God is a blanket that we put over the things we don't understand. Is a name of a blanket that we just put over the things we can't understand.
Yeah.
like it was God.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but and I think Neil deGrasse Tyson did a statement that I thought was actually really is interesting. He called it the God of gaps, right? So what he says is, back in the day when the sun used to come up and it would go down, we said a God did it. A God came and rose up the sun in the morning, and he goes and he puts it to bed at night. And not only it wasn't until science came around and said, no, we rotate, right? We're not the center of the universe. They did astrology and all these other kinds of stuff, mathematicians and everything else. They sat there and they worked it all out, and they were like, no, we're not saying there is no God. What we're saying is the reason why the sun comes up is because we spin, right?
Yeah.
And they said that a lot since the beginning of time, of documented history, right? I can't say the beginning of time, but the beginning of documented history is been proven over and over again that human nature will describe the unknown as being done by God. You know what I mean? And so we have a habit of throwing that blanket of God over the things we don't understand. You know?
So what is your opinion? Because let me ask you a question. What is your opinion about some people say the earth is like
Flat.
and it's just a firmament and that's,
Oh crap.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
got the firmament above us, and then we were in the middle of two. Yeah, the firmament was supposed to be above us, and then the great flood was whenever it
Well-
did melt and it fell to the earth.
well
Yeah, I know the stories.
Yeah. So what I believe, I don't believe in planets and all that, because even in the Bible he talks about when Jesus returned, the stars are going to fall like embers. And then if you look at all the artifacts, like everything that they have, every kind of evidence they have about the moon and any planets, they're just pictures. There's no true. This is just my opinion. You know what I mean? I don't know for sure. I'm not a scientist. I've never been up there, so I really don't know. But when I look at things like as far as the sun and the moon are pretty much the same size, always, right? And
In
they're-
the sky,
Yeah.
or the same size compared to each other.
In perspective, I
As
think
far-
from the Earth, I see what you're saying.
I think they are originally. I don't think the sun is as far and as big as they say it is. I think that the sun it is in a realm that we can't get to because we cannot get out of the firmament, right? The way the Bible explains how how God created Earth, and in Genesis,
Yeah.
it gets me thinking. But again, I don't really get on that subject a lot because I'm not a scientist. I don't have any kind of way of going up high, so high that to find out. right? And I'm not trying to find out either, right? But there's so much debate on it, and as I look into it myself, like just by thinking about it, looking outside, I kind of think, because it's crazy if we rotate, right? We've only seen one side of the moon. There's pictures of the other side of the moon, but that they can, with AI and all that, they could do anything.
Yeah.
But
As
when
far
those
as, like,
pictures were
landing-
made that we started, there was no AI.
Yeah, but they didn't have pictures of the dark side of
Yeah,
the
but
moon.
look how old those pictures look too, right?
Yeah.
It just adds up to the technology as it went. And then landing on the moon too. I don't believe we landed on the moon. That's just me.
I agree with you there on that one.
I don't know for sure. I can't sit here and say I'm gonna stamp it and that's it. No, I can't do that because I'm not a scientist. I've never been there. But when I watch the sun and the moon, and the way they explain it, how it rotates like a clock,
Yeah.
I could believe in that. And the way the Bible talks about how the world was created, how God created it with the firmament between the waters and all that,
Yeah.
and how there's different realms, different heavens. I could see that. And one thing though, I started thinking about it a lot. I was like, so why when the sun gets way here at like 7:00, it's so huge? But then I started thinking it's above the firmament, so that firmament can give it an illusion when it gets further away. It could give that illusion if it getting big, but
Yeah, we're looking through anything through the atmosphere is going to give it some type
Yeah.
of obstruction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's gonna
A
warp
different
it,
reflection,
warp it a little
yeah.
bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, and that makes sense. I would actually have to take the other side of that coin if I'm being honest with you. I think that the sun is at a specific distance where it lines up with our moon, which is ridiculous. I think that our moon spins at such a perfect mile per hour rotation that it only faces one side towards our Earth, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think that it's perfectly aligned with the sun twice a year to line up perfectly to block itself out exactly, which is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right?
it's crazy.
And those things I think are in my eyes proof of a God, right?
Yeah.
Because already the astronomical small chances that we exist happened.
Mhm.
So you're going to tell me that alone mathematically should be impossible, and it happened. But not only did we exist on a planet that could sustain life, but this planet just so happened to have a perfectly aligned moon and sun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like no.
Yeah.
That's another mathematical anomaly that should be impossible. So you're saying all the impossible happened one spot in the universe.
No,
That tells me God. That tells me God.
Yes, God. But what if? Right? Here's the what ifs. What if we're not the only Earth that God created perfectly?
Well, that's where I was leading to. Is
There's
that
billions of universes.
okay? So here's where I kind of start getting into a little bit of controversial thinking. Right? Is okay. So that means that I believe that there is a possibility, a strong possibility, that there is a being outside of our understanding that can create exactly where we're at, exactly how it is.
Mhm.
So that means that I have to believe that there's more
Yeah.
beings than just the one that created us.
Correct.
There is like the brothers and sisters of God out in the universe doing this somewhere else, and they maybe not doing it the same way, and maybe they're not good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in my
Because you got to
mind,
think about it. When Jesus created us, he said, "Let us make them the image of us." He didn't
Yeah.
say, let me create them of the image of me." He said, "Of us." So there had to been more up there.
That's-
Of course,
that's what I'm saying.
of
But
course,
to
yeah.
us here in our realm, I like the way you're in our realm.
Mhm.
That's our God, because
Yeah.
he's the one that did what he did for us. But that doesn't exclude that this specific arrangement isn't had with something else
Or somewhere else. Yeah.
You know what I'm
agree.
saying?
I always think about that, because I have one of those outside of the box thinking minds where
Yeah.
I'm like, man. So here's another thing that gets me, right, is when it's light here, it's dark on the other side of the world, right?
Mhm.
They're seeing the moon and night sky at night.
Mhm.
While it's night over there, it's daylight over here.
Mhm.
How are we seeing that same moon during the day sometimes that they're seeing at night when it's supposed to be
I'm sorry.
opposite? Party foul.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
Bummer.
that's
The
what
one-
those
the
are the
one
things
who got
that
up in the middle when we were talking.
Right,
earlier.
right.
Yeah,
Those
Yeah.
are the things that trip me out. Like
Yeah.
you're like they're
But
supposed
I mean,
to see the
we
moon.
could come up with an explanation.
I know I'm
We
not a
could.
scientist, but it's just like it's just some of those things
Yeah.
that trip me
It's just the
out.
wonders
And
of the world. These
yeah,
things we aren't to worry about them.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just know that it's just evident that he's real and he's
Yeah,
and he's,
Definitely.
But to go back to your question,
and then
right?
again, real quick, remember Jesus said, "I go to prepare a place for you."
yeah.
So where, you know what I'm saying? It ain't here.
Where
so
is
he's
it?
definitely going somewhere to prepare
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, heaven, of course, but the way it's gonna look, we don't know, right?
What if
But-
you show up to heaven and it's just like his college apartment? You know what I mean?
It's-
It's like, yeah, I invited y'all to the party. Y'all here? And you're
Three,
all like,
three,
bro.
three blocks down from Mars.
Yeah. No, but
You see that planet right there? That's where you used to
That's-
live. But they're burning in hell now. So
Yeah.
that planet. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
But to go back to your question, right? So this is why I don't think that there's some weird type of thing that we don't understand, is because everything lines up so perfectly mathematically.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at it the way that they're explaining it, you could break it down to the smallest of numbers and it makes sense. Right? Down to the time, the month, the days, the seasons, the years, all that kinds of stuff. Like it all makes sense. And looking at the world and how everything else is created and it's very meticulously put into a specific way that it's going to work makes me believe that we're round and we are spinning and
Yeah.
we are, because everything else falls in line mathematically as far as, like
The
exact
light,
amount.
the sun,
the
the amount
exact
of
amount of
oxygen we have.
yeah, the
in
amount of
atmosphere.
oxygen is in the perfect position. The amount of gravity. The amount of gravity on the Earth is at such a specific point that if it were altered like 1 or 2 in either direction,
We'd smash
we
or float.
would die.
Yeah.
We would cease to exist. It's just perfect enough to hold the moon, just perfect enough to hold our orbit. You know what I mean? The sun just has
But
enough
either
to
way,
keep us
either
there.
way, if we were round or flat, in the way the firmament is, you couldn't still prove. There's no way of proving. You can
No, but
I can
here's
still, with the gravity and all this.
But
could
that's what I'm
still
saying,
be
it's-
flat. You know what I'm saying?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, there's mathematical numbers that make sense. Where's the mathematical numbers that make sense for the opposite end of the argument? Other than I have this old piece of paper that says it's this way. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, you have an old piece of paper where people didn't even understand what stars were. They thought they were fireflies stuck in the sky. And that's where you're getting this is how the earth was built information. When I have people who could sit here and make microchips telling me
but
that this is the way it was.
That's not true either, because remember back in the day, they knew that when Jesus was born into the world by the stars,
The kings, yeah.
you know, so we really can't say. I think there's two sides of the story. One is to get you to think that God is not real, and then the other one, is the proof.
Well, my next
But which, I don't know.
my next question would be, okay, if that's where you're going to base your facts, right? I mean, because like you're sitting there, okay, the 3 kings, they followed the North Star and they went and it lined up perfectly with the manger. That well, I don't even think it was really a manger. It doesn't say manger in the Bible. It says something else, but we use a manger to represent it. Either way, doesn't matter, right? So, what's your explanation for that story being told 2,000 years before Jesus in Egypt? Egypt says the same story: a virgin mother who was impregnated by God, who gave birth to the Messiah, and everything else, right? And it was virgin, is all lined with the stars the same way, and the same story was told 2,000 years before Jesus existed, right? So, if you're basing, your astrological
Data.
data off of what happened with Jesus, well, that happened 2,000 years before he was born, according to Egypt. You know what I mean? And I'm just talking about a human documented history, right? Now obviously these are Egypt plays it more as a mythology, right? But then you start looking into Chinese, Japanese, you start looking into Muslim and everything else. They have the same stories that predated Jesus, right? So I'm inclined to think that whenever they were making that story of him being born, they were like, hey, this is the way everybody sees the Messiah being born, so we need to make it adapt similar so people would accept it, right? In my mind, right? Following the stars, virgin mother, but that way he doesn't have a father. That's why he's not created by human. Everything else we see him as a divine creation, because if he was created by human, then he would be inherently flawed. So he has to be directly descendant of God and everything. These have been told over time and in history to make sure that it withstands time and everything else. So who's to say, and this is just me playing devil's advocate here, who's to say that they were not like, hey, if we want people to listen, he's got to be born this way on paper. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what happened. And I'm not saying that, hey, well, hieroglyphs were put there by the devil to throw us off track or whatever. I'm not saying none of that's not true or is true or whatever, but I'm just saying if we're going to sit here and say, I'm going to believe the shape of the world based off of this document, well, that document predates even what you believe. So how do you explain that?
Right.
You could start.
I just when I look at both stories, right, the planets and I look at the other one about the firmament, and I kind of just I kind of gravitate more to until we actually, I don't know.
So yeah, like you were saying, those are a bunch of what ifs, and we could go all day on those what ifs, but ultimately the Bible does say, trust in what he says, what the word says, and let the what ifs be the what ifs.
Yeah. And that's where I had to, because I'm real like analytical the way that I think, right? So everything kind of has to fall in place, and
Makes sense.
it does. And so I have a hard time like letting go of the unknown, right? And mom used to sit with me for this a lot of times and try to help me accept things that I can't understand. And that's why I think it's funny whenever somebody is so aggressively anti religion, right? Or so aggressively anti God, is like they're saying that they can't explain it, so it does. It's hard to believe that it exists. I'm of the other mind. I like to think of it as same situation, just a different way of looking at it. Is like no, I can't understand it, and I'm not gonna understand it. That in itself, should prove that there is something else working in the mix that we can't understand. And it's like there was a cartoon, the Boondocks. They come out, and Samuel L. Jackson hits them with it. There's known knowns, things that you know. There's known unknowns, things you don't know, you don't understand, and there's unknown unknowns, things you didn't know, right? And they say it as a joke, but I think that it actually does carry some weight.
Definitely.
It's like just because you don't know doesn't prove that it doesn't exist. You know what I mean? But they'll fight that. Hey, you can't explain this, so that must mean there's holes in your religion. There's holes in your theories, right? It's like no, right? The fact, just the solid definition of it, right, is that we're not gonna understand, right?
Yeah.
Not understanding, in my mind, is proof. Until you can prove to me that it doesn't. You know what I mean? I'm the other way around. Like, prove to me that he doesn't exist, right? Because just as I can't prove to you that he does with tangible proof, right? You can't prove to me that he doesn't with tangible proof, right? So it's like okay, so what makes more sense? Is that we're too dumb to figure this out, which we've broken down all the way down to the molecular level of everything that we could ever touch, or that it gets so mythical and mystical that we don't have a definition for it, and because it's above us and it's outside of our reach of knowledge.
Yeah.
And I just want to touch on this. So the reason why I lean more onto the, I guess, flat Earth, I guess you want to say, it's not really technically flat, but just the way I go back, I have to go find it in the Bible. If it ain't in the Bible, you can't persuade me, right?
Yeah.
But so I just want to go back into Genesis 1, where he talks when God created the earth, when he created the heavens and the earth, right? So it said, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and empty, and darkness covered the deep waters, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw that the light was good. Then he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And evening passed, and morning came, marking the first day. Then God said, let there be a space between the waters to separate the waters of the heavens from the waters of the earth. And that is what happened. God made this space to separate the waters of the earth from the waters of the heavens. God called the space sky. And evening passed and morning came, marking the second day. Then God said, let the waters beneath the sky flow together into one place so dry ground may appear. And that is what happened. God called the dry ground land and the water seas, and God saw that it was good. Then God said, let the land sprout with vegetation, every sort of seed bearing plant and trees that grow seeds bearing fruit. The land produced even past morning came. Then God said, let lights appear in the sky to separate the day from the night. Let them be signs to mark the season, days, and years. I guess he's talking about the stars. Let these lights in the sky shine down on the earth. And that is what has happened. God made two great lights. Oh, I guess he was talking about the moon. And a similar one to govern the night. He also made the stars. God set these lights in the skies to light the earth, to govern the day and the night and separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And evening passed, morning came, marked the fourth day. Then God said, that the waters swarm with fish and other life. Let the skies be filled with birds and every kind. So God created great sea creatures and every living thing that scurries and swarms in the water, and every sort of bird, each producing offspring of the same kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply. Let the fish fill the seas and the birds multiply on the earth. Then God said, let the earth produce every sort of animal. That's where he created the animals. And then God created human beings. But just to where my point is, like, that's why I can't, I just go back to the Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, what does the Bible say? And I know people could say, like, well, you can't really go on that because whatever. People say that things could have been altered, could have been made up. How do we really know if this was, where did these scriptures come from? Like, where did they find, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you also have to remember there is a limit of knowledge, right? The whenever the Bible was written, the advances in astrological science and things of those natures, they were in their infancy. You know what I mean? So who's to say? And this is just like I'm saying, these are the what ifs, right? Who's to say that God was explaining to us and we didn't understand? Whenever this was translated down from a divine tongue to human language, you know what I mean? That what he was explaining is unexplainable to human to understand. So the only way that we could understand it was, it was this way, because that was the limit of our knowledge of the time, right? The leaps and bounds that we've made with knowledge from BC to today, right, are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Are ridiculous. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, so we're reading text based off of a knowledge that is thousands and thousands of years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Look, the Old Testament, like, how old are those stories? They're not 2,000 years old. They're 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years old.
Yeah, I think from all the way from Adam to now is probably like a little over 6,000 years old. That's what it's supposed to be.
You know what I mean? So it's like what? Yeah. I have to think. All right. So we there's carbon dating and everything else, and I feel like it's not an exact science, right?
Yeah.
Carbon dating gives you an estimate, right?
Theories.
But yeah, you know what I'm saying. So like we can only guess how something's gonna look after 6 million years. You know what I mean? There's no way we can confirm that, right? We all we could do is just base and make hypotheses off of the knowledge that we're limited to of our time.
Yeah,
So I have to think, the advancements that we've made with circumnavigating the globe, right? Circumnavigating the globe is a huge scientific advancement. You know what I mean?
And then you even also look into like the flight patterns. You know what I mean? That's another thing that catches my attention. Like when they talk about the flight patterns of our commercial airlines.
Yeah.
And how, if it was round, then there, how could it be that we can, why would we cut back this way to land and to get to where?
Well, how much do you know about aeronautical science?
Not really.
I was gonna say there's a lot of science behind that.
Yeah.
The reason why the trajectory that they
It's not-
take
it's
is
not a globe.
yeah,
That's why.
that is
No, I'm just
different.
kidding.
No, well,
I'll let y'all decide that.
yeah, well, the argument is for aeronautical science, right? Is they got to understand that a lot of these long flights, right? They're going to use up a lot of energy in order to get from point A to point B, right? So what's the best way to not use as much energy and be able to get everyone there safely is by using these wind currents, right?
Mhm.
So there are, very constant currents.
So
Once you
you're
reach a certain
saying is
height.
that we are what is it called? Never mind. I was gonna say something stupid. Go ahead.
Well, we're used to it.
But what are they called? They're where you teleport, I guess.
Yeah.
Right, the plane gets a certain height and boof, you teleport to it. No, it's stupid.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm
Well, I guess ultimately, right, this all ties down to
God is real.
Second Corinthians 5:7 says we walk by faith and not by sight, right? So
Yeah.
ultimately, I guess that's where as Christians we stand is walking by faith.
Look at one of the great changes that were just made in this past century, right? So the Pope, right,
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
Christianity, they've actually accepted evolution, right? Before,
That's Catholicism.
yeah, well, I mean, when you look at what a lot of today's following is based off of, right? They're kind of like the Mecca, you know what I mean? Like they're kind of like the ones that kind of like led the charge. I mean, the way you look at it, they were, you know what I mean? Like I mean, a lot of things branched off of that.
Are you talking about Alpha Catholic?
Yeah, of Catholicism. I mean, without them, would your religion exist without that being the base?
Yes.
because
absolutely.
the disciples
Yeah.
who
We-
actually followed Christ, their stories. I go off of their stories. I don't go
Yeah.
off of the Catholic.
Yeah, but who
church
brought
stories.
those stories to today?
The disciples?
The disciples did. It started in Ethiopia. Those are one of the first Bibles you're gonna find.
I mean, I guess Catholic was the first like organization that kind of.
It was the first gang that
I
took
mean,
over countries.
But
Yeah.
even then, before Christ, the Catholic Church
Yeah.
was
the Roman Catholics.
they were going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they were already a thing before Christ,
Yeah.
anyways.
Yeah.
So, and the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholics did not.
Believe in Jesus.
They did not. Yeah.
Well,
they-
it
back
predated
then- back
Jesus.
then
It
they
predated
did.
They were
Jesus.
there.
Yeah.
They just didn't like his teachings.
Yeah.
They, even though he backed up everything that he's like, y'all read all the scriptures. You should
Yeah.
already know what I'm talking about. But they, it was, so we can get deep into that. It's
Yeah.
another story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so,
But I'm just, okay. So just on a large scale, I think evolution has been accepted by most.
yeah,
by
and
most-
that's something new. That's
something new.
Yeah.
That's
But Catholicism also has approved LGBTQ. What is it? Marriages and stuff like that. So, I mean,
yeah.
That is that's something.
So
that,
in all reality, man, it's not about a religion.
yeah,
It's not about a
It's-
Christian church or a Catholic church
it's
or a
the
Baptist church. It's about
relationship.
It's just about
Yeah.
following
Yeah.
But-
Jesus.
But
period.
I get that, and and that's the path that I walk, right? But it's just like, if I feel like whenever there is a debate on something that's been stated, biblically, and it starts to interfere with logic,
Mhm.
right? And that's usually what ends up causing a conflict between believers and non-believers, right? Is that okay, this doesn't make sense logically, and they're like, okay, but I'm not here for logic, I'm here for faith, right? And then you get into the argument, right? And then the logical people will say, oh well, yeah, you just throw God over everything, and that doesn't
It's
make
God
any
over
sense.
everything, baby.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Well,
Next shirt. Next shirt. Don't forget to buy
Yo,
our
I
merch.
need to start a merch line, bro. I got quotes, but you know what I'm saying?
Press right there at the house. Let's press them up.
But
Shirts are going for $25 a piece.
but
Pre-order
yeah.
yours right now.
So it's like why would we not think that we could make advancements with the knowledge we have today towards what scripture was, applying the knowledge we have today towards what the scripture is giving us? So I think we can come with a logical conclusion of what actually happened that does make sense logically.
Yeah.
Right. So at the time, maybe they didn't understand globes, like that the Earth should be a globe, right? And they were just like,
Pretty
hey, so whenever they got the information, they just assumed it was just this platform that was created for them, right? And it wasn't until we actually
I mean,
took
I'm
to
pretty
the
sure
skies.
I'm pretty sure they were like, got to be something out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so much evidence that we are a globe. You know what I mean? Like
What
that.
evidence
What,
that NASA has?
no,
What does NASA mean?
no. I'm talking about that you can take a plane, go in one direction, and end up on the other side.
Yeah, but that still doesn't.
This isn't Pac-Man. You don't just disappear
no,
off of one side of
no,
the screen and
but-
show up on the other.
But that still doesn't tell me that we flew like this.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
you're
it could we flew like
so
this.
you're saying
you know,
in
either way,
so you're saying in the existence of mankind that we have been. It makes more sense to you that we have been duped and there's been a
because
conspiracy that.
it contradicts the Bible.
But no, but
It's a.
I'm
If
talking
we
about
believe,
just logic, like just logically thinking, right? Just logically thinking, with everything that we
What-
have.
what blew my mind was the stuff that came up about the landing on the moon. That right there threw me off. I'm like, I don't believe they landed on the moon. I think it was
Okay,
a hoax.
let's go. Let's go. You brought that
And
up. You brought
so-
that up on multiple podcasts. Go ahead and break that down for us.
I think I'm with you on that, because
No, I mean,
We haven't been on the moon
Okay.
since.
Ever.
We haven't made it back out there.
break it down.
ever.
Why?
You
Why
I
don't
don't
you
even think
believe it?
I don't even think we were out there.
I-
Well, come on.
honestly.
But
we can't.
So-
we
Back
can't
up- back
get
up
out
your
of the- we
claims.
can't
Back
get
up
out
your
of the-
claims.
We can't get out of the firmament.
Well, here's
The
the
Bible.
thing.
Let me go back to the Bible. The Bible, even when they tried to build the Tower of Babel, or what is it called,
Yeah, Babylon.
Babylon, even God knocked it over because He wasn't going to allow people to get up that high.
So, but I'm saying like if you want to make that claim against somebody who's making the opposite claim, how would you go forth with your argument? I would say.
Here's one thing, right? Is the telecommunications back then, we just in the 19th, the end of the 19th century, or 20th century, whatever you want to call it, started having the Bluetooth connections. How the heck are you gonna be on the moon back then when you couldn't
Talking
even
back.
pick up? You had to actually pick up a phone and talk to an
That's good.
operator
Yeah.
to communicate with your neighbor.
That's good. I didn't even
And
think about that one.
how the heck are you going to be on the moon communicating
Live
with
broadcasting
Earth,
down.
live broadcasting at that to the people on the Earth when you didn't even have color TV yet? You didn't even have Bluetooth telecommunications yet. You didn't have
Yeah.
satellites to control that. So there's
This is what I want to hear.
that,
right?
and then there's multiple claims how JFK was the president back then who initiated the moon landing, right? And his biggest thing was Hollywood. You know,
he was huge in
He
Hollywood.
just wanted to beat the Russians.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So,
So
here's where I
And another thing is that they went around and asked all the astronauts back then to
Yeah.
swear it on the Bible that you landed
I seen that.
on the moon. And none of them. They
Yeah.
kept getting mad.
Get out of my face.
Yeah, they couldn't. They
Yeah.
couldn't just.
yeah, no,
couldn't
they
do
got
it.
they got Buzz Aldrin like in
Yeah.
interviews saying
And
that he
so
didn't
many
go.
astronauts were just like
Hush, hush.
dying.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, but you gotta think about it, okay? I 1000% believe that every video showing what happened on the moon was faked. I don't think that we had the technology for that, and I think that we did that as a stunt in
Yeah.
order to
say
outdo
we
our
did it
rivals,
first.
right?
Yeah,
which
yeah.
which were the
Russians.
cosmonauts, right? Yeah, the Russians, the cosmonauts over in Russia, they were gonna make it, right? And we're like, yo, we got to get there first. Fake it till you make it.
Mind you, we were in the middle of a Cold War too.
Yeah.
So
and then again, Russia's and China's and all them. Neither one of them has even
Yeah.
claimed to land it on.
and
the
here's
moon
another thing, right? Is that we have upgraded our car systems. We have updated technology, computers, and everything under the moon. Updated rockets, been to Mars, and
Apparently.
and you're telling me after all of
After
that,
this stage.
you cannot go back to the moon?
Yeah,
You
and
know,
what is the excuse
so-
that they deep six the data, right? That's what they said. They
Yeah.
they 86 the data, and now they can't recreate it. And I'm like, no, that's bull. That's bull.
Not only that, they show so somebody, I saw a video where they showed the background of Mars,
Yeah.
right? And it was like a same desert off somewhere. Exact same rocks were in the exact same place and everything.
Now, I
Is that
believe,
true? I don't know.
I believe
don't know.
we're
Wasn't there.
on Mars right now. I believe the rover is roaming on Mars because
Why isn't
uh,
it on
on the moon? That's
The moon
a
is
good
closer.
question. Why? I don't know if it is or not.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of speculation about the moon. I mean, because like the fact that it is mathematically
It's
perfect.
It's a Death Star.
Yeah.
It's a spaceship.
Yeah,
it's the home to the aliens.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you think about it, right? Let's break it down. All right, so you see the craters in the moon. You can see the craters in the moon with the naked eye,
Yeah.
right? So you can't deny that,
Yeah.
right? But what is it about those craters that catch your attention? Have you ever thought about it? Like I like physics and stuff like that, right? So I mess around with it. I don't know why my brain likes it. I think it's autism, but whatever. When you look at the craters in the moon, they don't make divots like a normal crater, right? A crater goes in and then it comes out. What are the craters on the moon? It's a big round circle, like something hit something and then pressed it out,
Yeah.
and then it's just flat, right? So what does that tell you? That
Something
there's
dragged it
something
out.
solid right there,
Yeah.
right underneath that dust, and it's not letting what these objects that are in space that are hitting the moon. It's not letting them dig down into there. It's hitting the surface and it's getting stopped by something, and it's creating a flat crater versus a divot. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So, so that's something unique about the moon, and it only faces us one way.
Makes you think though, like
Yeah.
if those craters are visible to the eye from down here, imagine how big they are in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah, and so you're telling me something that's big enough to make me see. I could see the damage
Yeah.
with the naked eye from the Earth, and that wasn't strong enough to put a dent in the moon.
Or if
No.
you have a Samsung phone. So
and then,
sorry,
and
you
then it's
iPhone
got,
users.
they got all these humongous craters in there. Why don't we have any? I mean,
Yeah.
I know we,
We do.
No, we
but-
do.
We
They're
do.
just covered up with
As huge as
skyscrapers
as
now.
the moons.
No, I mean, but look at the oceans.
Yeah.
Look at the lakes.
Yeah.
Right, ours are just filled with water. That's all it is, right? So you could look
Yeah, I
at
guess
you can look at dents over the Earth all you want to. It's just
Yeah.
filled with water. But what the thing about it to me is like, okay, so the moon has perfect gravity, shape, size, mathematic, and orbit around the Earth to do all the things that it does. Perfect, right?
Well, gravitational pull. It doesn't have gravity itself.
Yeah, it has gravitational pull, right?
Yeah.
That actually elongates the Earth into like more of an oval shape,
So
and
they
Not
say.
round.
yada 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 yada.
Because
right?
what if gravity is just something that the Earth has? Why? How? Explain to me how the moon,
Well, you got-
affects our gravity.
you
the
gotta
greater
think
the mass,
about-
the greater the attraction. It's
you
one of the
got-
laws of physics.
You got to think about it. It's like a we're a generator. You know, the more it turns in that magnetic field, it has that pull.
Yeah, we
you
can.
know?
And here's the thing: we can recreate it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of where I get it. Like we can prove it because we can recreate it. You know what I mean? Like there's a way to make like you said like magnetic fields and everything else like that, running copper around some magnets and
Yeah.
fasten up and all this kinds of stuff. Like there's ways to
To-
make this happen.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why it makes sense to me, right? Because you can explain it. But what you can't explain is why the moon's the way it is, right?
Yeah.
And why it's so mathematically perfect that it doesn't even spin to a specific degrees for us to see a different part of it, right?
That's
So
crazy.
that tells me because it isn't sitting still. It's spinning. But it's spinning at such a speed that as it rotates, it's rotating as fast as it spins, and it stays facing us in the same direction each time. And
I
that's
don't
that's
think
like
the moon is spinning. I think it's just stationed at a just.
if it wasn't spinning,
Google
then you would
it.
see the other side. If it wasn't spinning, we would see the other side of the moon.
Spinning, I would be able to see the.
No,
other
no,
side.
no, because it is going around us. So in order for it to stay the same way, look at my hand. All right, so if I'm looking at the same size of my hand
Oh wow, it does.
and it gets over here to this side, my hand spun 180 degrees. My hand spun, but it also rotated at the same speed. So you only saw one side of my hand.
It says it's yes, the moon rotates on an axis.
I don't
can-
believe it.
It completes one rotation in approximately 27.3 days,
Yeah,
which
Th-
is
I don't
the
believe
same amount it takes.
I don't believe anything
orbit
Google
Earth.
tells me.
yeah. It's the exact.
Exact.
It's the exact time it takes for it to go around the Earth. Is the exact time it takes for it to make one rotation.
It's called the synchronosis rotation.
See, it's a made-up word.
All words are made up. Thor taught me that. Thor taught me that. All words are made up. Neville Levere, whatever the place.
That's true. All words are
I'm
made
sorry,
up.
I still don't believe that the moon is spinning. I think it's stationary and it just follows.
See, but this is where we get where we get the classic debates, right? It's
Yeah.
like if there is proof that it is, why would you debate the proof with?
I have not seen any proof.
I mean, it's you could look at it.
It does not show. me that
It doesn't
it's
show up in the same spot of the sky every night.
It's just moving.
Okay, so if it was a stationary object, why does it move across the sky? Why is it in front of different stars at different times of the year? Why sometimes it only breaches the surface and
it's
goes right
moving.
back down?
it's moving.
So
I
how
just
is it
don't
going to
think it's
move?
spinning.
How is it going to move and not spin and us not see the other side? I just did a great demonstration with my hands. If
It's
my
just-
hand doesn't spin,
It's just too
it
far
does
out there.
this.
It's too far out there that
No, look. If I do not spin my hand
I mean, technically,
and it
yeah,
does this,
but
look,
basically,
you're gonna
yeah.
see the other side
Yeah.
eventually.
Neil deGrasse and Tyson, if you're available to come to the podcast,
Bro, I
To
would love
come
to
break it
pick your
down.
brain on this one. All right, help me out. Help me. But that's what I'm trying to say is like I can explain that, and if I can explain that, that means
But you still didn't explain. You didn't show me. You did not.
so okay. So
You
that-
said if the Earth is rotating.
yeah.
That's
I said the
my hand
moon.
my hand, I mean, yeah, the moon. My hand never. It's
It is spinning.
with. It's still the same. I'm still seeing the same face.
But look, which way is your palm facing right now? Yeah, and then when your hand was over here, which way was your palm facing?
Out there. That's still
Exactly.
doesn't-
So for it to go,
no, they say that the moon is going like this while it's going.
no, that's not what it's saying. They're saying the moon is doing this. Exactly what my hand is doing is what the moon's doing.
Yeah. I could. Yeah. That's still not spinning.
No, it is spinning.
It's going around like. You don't get what I'm
So-
saying.
Look, if it's not spinning, look, you're gonna see a different side.
look, I'm gonna show you.
It has to spin in order for it to stay one way.
Here's an example.
That's how it works. This
Look,
is considered spinning.
There's the Earth, and there's the moon.
I don't see the moon doing that.
Of course, we don't see it because we're moving at the same speed.
So
Almost.
therefore, I'm not gonna believe that. You can't show me that and say that's what it is. This is nothing. This is nothing. This is something that somebody created on a computer. So that's why I don't believe.
I think
I believe is when I go outside and I look at it that I could because I could see it with my own eyes.
Bro,
But
it
this, I
came
just
on
can't see
Facebook.
it.
It's
No,
true.
but here's
can't-
the
you
thing
can't.
though. Like
it
with,
came on Facebook.
with
It's
that
true.
logic, you're saying that well, I shouldn't believe DNA because I can't see that with my own eyes.
Yeah, you can with a telescope and
No, that's a
All right.
microscope.
a microscope.
And
oh
then
my gosh.
And the moon you can see with the telescope.
Yeah, but I can't see it going like this.
No, but
No,
but
you're not
It's
going
just
to.
But you could look
that's
at the
what I'm
position.
saying.
But you
That's
could look
what
at the
I'm
position
saying,
in the
though.
sky, right? The stars are constant. You're saying this yourself. Stars are constant. Can we agree with that?
I mean,
And you know you could see it if you had a camera and you set it in one spot facing the moon or in the moon direction and leave it there all night. You'll see the rotation of the
I
Earth.
see the moon. I see the moon moving. Yeah, I believe it moves.
Okay, but
But
here,
I don't see it spinning while it's moving. That's
Hear
what
me
I'm
out.
trying to say.
I got you. All right, check this out.
I want to see the other side. I want to see different spots.
Okay, if you want to see the
You know
see the
what I'm
other
saying?
side of the moon, then it has to stop spinning.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't. that
No,
does
because
not
if
make
it did stop spinning, you would see we would go behind it.
Yeah.
But since it's
But how are we gonna go behind it when it's following us? We're not following the moon.
then
He meant we're gonna get to the other side.
yeah, we'll get to the other side.
It's spinning around the Earth.
Yeah.
I believe it's going in its own little, but I just don't believe it's going like this.
So if you believe
I
it's
do
spinning,
believe it's going like
It
this.
is
no,
doing
it's
it-
spinning.
no, it is.
Okay.
It's spinning,
It's
bro.
spinning.
Okay, I get that. That's
Yeah.
yeah. That's I get that.
So,
okay, see, this works.
That's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
This
see,
is but I'm saying
So it
why
is
can't
doing
it go
180.
like this so I can see the back of it.
Why can't pigs fly? I mean,
But-
because it's not the way it is,
Yeah.
bro. You
Yeah,
can
that's what
want
I'm
it as
trying
much
to
as
get
you
at.
want.
I know
It
it's
does
going like,
spin
I
a
get what you're
180.
saying. Okay,
Give me my energy.
I get what y'all saying.
Now you do because you
But
saw
see,
the monster 3 times.
Yeah. Prove himself wrong.
No.
Hey, next time we get in
No,
an argument,
no,
you're
see,
gonna explain
no.
your side so you can get it, man.
Y'all were confused what I was trying to say. See,
Okay.
y'all were confused what I was trying to say. I get this. I get that. Okay, yeah, technically it's spinning.
Yeah, that's what we're
But
talking about
that's not
technically.
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, is it like this?
Now that's a question. Why is it so perfect that we only see one side? Now that's why I don't honestly believe, because I mean there's been theories that the moon broke off of the Earth and stuff like that. Like
That's dumb.
well, I mean
That's crazy.
there's some evidence towards
Because
it, but
we're so okay. Let's say we are a globe. We're so perfectly round. Where's the chunk at?
No, we're not round. We're oval.
yeah, we're a little bit oval. We're
Oh, now
oblong.
we're oval.
We're
now
oblong.
we're over.
Okay.
We were once round. Now
But here's the
we're-
thing. Here's the thing. CJ, the
What?
look at the trench, the Mariana Trench, one of the deepest spots on Earth, right? I mean, like, who's to say that isn't the rock that came off of the Earth? You know what I mean? Like, you're looking at the Earth because it goes
That's
in and
way
out.
there, bro. That's way out there. We
Either
have no
way.
evidence though.
Either way, I don't think that the moon's natural.
God
That's where I
created
get right. Like, I think that the moon is a type of satellite. Right now, could have been put there by God. Who's to know? Who's to not? Who's to know? What if God gets a BlackBerry? Bro, he needs Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just saying, like I think that the moon is not a natural part of this. I think it's been put there in order to balance things out. You know what I mean? Like it needed to
By
be there for
God.
thing to work
It was
out.
put
Yeah,
there by God.
yeah, yes. You know, like as everything is.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't think that there's enough evidence. Just like you have to prove to me that God doesn't exist, or else I'm not gonna believe that because I believe in God. You're gonna have to prove to me, that you know this is the way that it is. You know what I mean? I think that the moon is not a natural object. I think that it was put there by either an entity or civilization, one or the other. You know, I lean towards the God because I do believe.
So if it was put there by man, it has to be some kind of
Man,
illusion.
I don't
Is that
think
what you said?
no,
You said? What'd
I
you
don't
say?
think
You
man.
said entity or what?
A different civilization like aliens.
Oh, like
I think
other-
Elon
other
Musk did it.
No, no, aliens, bro. I'm talking about aliens, right? So,
So they're just waiting for that perfect day so they can come and.
Or
no,
the-
I mean,
how do you know they're not here?
to be honest,
How do you know they're not here already?
Talking about us.
But here's the thing. I think, or in my mind, that makes more sense. And like I say, I make sense of all kinds of crap. It all just comes up from this bottomless pit that I call a brain. But I think that it was put there and then forgotten about, or they're done with it and they just left it rather than remove it, just like we did with all of our weapons overseas. You know.
that could be one.
But you know what I'm saying? Like I think that it was put
one
there
theory,
for a
but-
reason to do something. It played its purpose, and it was too much of a hassle to remove. You know, like because there's no way that it would be so mathematically perfect that it does all this. There's no way that it would exhibit the traits that it exhibits. Now, as far as the moon landing, I think that every piece of media that we have is completely fake. I think we did that for people, and I think Buzz Aldrin and was it Armstrong and all the you know, I think that they were actors, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think that
They were
we
paid.
didn't go.
Well, I
just think that-
they went to space.
Yeah, I don't think that.
They-
I don't
all
think
of them were
tried to go up
astronauts,
there, yeah.
but I don't think
They went up as far as they could go
Yeah.
and found out we really can't get too far, and so they had to come up with something.
Yeah.
Because either we got to make up something or someone else is gonna beat us. Someone's gonna make a better rocket,
Yeah.
and that wasn't gonna happen. Not for Americans.
Not with JFK
But
president.
I think, and now this is just me from what I've heard. I haven't done a lot of fact checking. I do a lot of fact checking, a lot of stuff that I do look into, but I haven't on this one. But I'm pretty sure that you can get your own equipment and see the moon landing. I'm not 100% on that,
like
but
go back in time.
no, like you could get a telescope and look up there, and you could see the foot
flag and
flag,
all
and you
that.
can see the footprint, and you
And the
could
little-
see proof of us being there. Because we
Well,
landed on this side of the
until
moon.
We need a
day-
Hubble telescope.
Until that day, I have the telescope right here in front of me, and I can look at it myself. Then I'll believe
Yeah.
it. But until
I have seen I've taken the girls out and we've gone out to Guadalupe State Park, and they have a star watching club that goes out there,
Mm.
and there's probably like 50 different telescopes pointed at different stars, but one of them is pointed at Saturn. And when you look at the telescope, you can see Saturn
Yeah.
perfectly. It's the most
Yeah.
craziest thing ever.
Yeah, those are wonders. that
Yeah.
will keep us mind boggled. But
Yeah.
amen, praise God. Yeah.
Well, that was
We
good,
can
man.
continue at another time.
Yeah.
So anybody out there that likes to talk about this stuff, come on in, man. Let's
Collaborate.
It's fun to talk about. You know, a lot of people are gonna be like, "What does this have to do with Christ and all that?" But
Well,
you know what? It's just like I said. It's just another podcast we like
Yeah.
to have conversation.
let me pull it in with the scripture. It's Hebrews 10:22. It says, let us draw near with the true heart in full assurance of faith, with our hearts sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. So, you know, all of the talk that we're talking, all the what is, we have full faith that God knows what He's doing, what He did,
Yeah.
and what He's gonna do. So,
Yeah. Just like I read in Genesis, that's what I believe. I believe that God put it there for a reason, put the sun there for a reason, put all the stars
yeah,
there for a reason, because He wants us to, watch.
yeah,
I mean, count the days. And so that we have something to go by. You know what I mean? Because how would we be able to tell, day and night and the seasons and all this stuff? But
Yeah.
yeah.
And somebody explained it to me like this once, and it really opened my eyes as to how much I don't understand. I was poking holes in religious theories, like I do. But one of the reasons why you asked me to be on this podcast, right? I like to question things. But it was a guy, Scott, and we called him Scooter, and he was a military guy, and he was the one who gave me that Bible. Remember the Bible I was showing you? And he's the one who gave me that. And I was talking about it, right? And he was like, "Well, think about it this way. Time is man-made, right? Time is man-made. That's what it is.
definitely,
Time
yep.
doesn't exist, and we use it as a way to calculate and measure things, right? But that doesn't make it exist. That's very pompous of us to think that we can make something exist across the whole universe as time, because it's not consistent, and it's been proven that it's not consistent.
Yeah.
It's our own concept of time.
Yeah.
But if we use time as a subject here, it's like God isn't held and restrained by the boundaries of our limitations of time.
Yeah.
He's we look at time as we're looking straight through a scope. We can only look, the scope is only this big, and we can only look straight. We can only look one way, right? God looks at it as flat as a piece of paper. He sees the whole timeline all at once.
He's what do they call it? Omniscient.
Yeah, omnipotent.
I'm gonna let
Yeah.
you say it. Omnipotent.
Yeah. So he looks at it like on a plane, right? To use a mathematical term, and he sees it on a plane, and he can adjust things, in the past, and then watch how that ripple effect applies to the whole timeline, right? So I do believe that things are put in a specific spot by God in order to achieve a result that He's trying to get at the end, right? Because we can't even fathom that power to be able just to like move one thing and then change the entire timeline like that, right? We could pretend with it. We could play Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox and all those other kinds of stuff, or Dragon Ball Z, where there's different multiverses and all this other kinds of stuff. We could sit there and theorize and all that kind of stuff all we want to, but I believe, right, that like you're saying, that everything's put in a specific spot for a reason, and He could see the outcome before
Yeah, of course, definitely.
before you can, and that's why things are the way that they are, and that design, because that's another argument that people get into with the free will, or is there fate, right? And it's like, no, I think they are one and the same, and He just sees it all at once. Yeah, you are fated to do that, but your free will would lead you to your fate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that people they can't reconcile the two. But yeah, I think they're put there in a certain way because God knew that it was going to get the outcome that He so desired.
Yeah.
And He's capable of doing that kind of stuff. So I do agree with you on that. But where my ideology differs from yours is that I think that we're able to understand quite a bit of it, not all of it, obviously. Like I said, with DNA and blood and evolution and all these other kinds of things, and the way that things progress, and we can break it all down systematically and everything else. I think that we're smart enough to figure out if the world's flat or round. In my mind, but that's not something that's going to elude our civilization today.
Well, still not proven yet, I think.
To you,
Because I've been up in planes. Doesn't look round to me.
Yeah, because you can
Uh,
only see 7 miles with the naked eye.
So
You know, how far do you have to see in order to see the curvature of the Earth?
there hasn't been a proven, and even then, when there's pictures of the Earth out, it's only like a 3D dimension. You know what I mean? A 2D dimension. Like it's not. There's just not enough proof yet to at least persuade me to believe that we're a globe.
Well, where's the proof that made you believe that we're not a globe? That's
The
where my
Bible.
question is.
The Bible verses and putting things together. Just I guess my own thought and what's more makes sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that we're smart enough to think of a lie that great to trick the entire world. I think that somebody would have pulled the sheet off of that. You know what I mean? They would have showed behind the curtain by now.
Even the
And there
Bible,
has been.
even the Bible doesn't explicitly say the Earth is flat. Though.
Yeah, that's true. Doesn't say that it's a globe either.
Let's see.
I'm pretty sure it says around the world in the Bible quite a few times.
That might be true.
I'm pretty sure they reference the world as round.
No, it doesn't
No.
specifically say that either. So, it does reference to the circle of the Earth.
Yeah, and that also could be how they describe
A circle's
the,
a 2-dimension. You're right.
the flat Earth. How they did. You know, have you seen those on, videos and stuff of how they say
Nope, I don't believe them.
you don't believe those flat Earth things?
I don't believe flat Earth.
It's a
I believe we're
possibility.
round.
I'm
I
just
believe
saying,
we're
if
round.
there's a
We have a
possibility.
North Pole and a South Pole. So, if it was flat, our compasses won't work.
Where does it, so whenever it's daytime on one side of the world and not on the other side of the world, where does the sun go for the dark side?
I mean, you got you could do it with a flashlight. Like let's say we had this circle and we have one little beam of light and we shined it and it lit up this area.
Yeah, but that light's still visible from the other side of the table.
Yeah, but so is at night. We can get into all that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It
I'm
just-
telling you that this is
Because
a
look,
conversation
because
that
look,
is,
check it
is
out.
never ending.
But even then, like when so the sun is supposed to be so huge, but yet it doesn't. When the rays hit the earth, I mean, it just doesn't. It don't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It just. I don't think the earth. I don't think the sun is as big as they say. It's just so huge.
Well,
Sun, I
stay
just
tuned.
don't
Next
see
week
it.
we're gonna talk about Sasquatch. So
we could definitely go on and on.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I didn't really do no studying on that, but I'm just going by off of what. I mean,
What
I'm
you
just
feel.
more. I'm just more onto that side than I am as far as like the globe wise. But even then, in the back of my mind, I'm like, who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't know. Like again, like I said earlier, I'm not a scientist. I haven't done research. I didn't like devote my life to. I'm gonna study this. Like, I don't know for sure. It's just
Yeah.
a topic to talk about.
for
You
sure.
know what I mean? But I'm more leaning to that as far as like, it being this firmament over and this. I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't
But
think
I'm kind of more leaning that
Yeah.
way. I'm not really. I don't know. I just don't see us. I don't know. I can't say because God is God, and I don't know. But
Well.
anyways, praise God. Hallelujah.
Albert Einstein will give you the ECM squared.
E equals
yeah,
MC
but
squared.
even then,
So
That's like your name, bro. Like, what do you?
well, I'm M squared. Believe it or not, I get they mispronounce it all the time. MC squared. I'm like M squared. MC squared. No, M squared.
DJ squared. I know. I used to say that. Too.
Yeah, but it's all good.
But amen. That's what's up, man. I think
It's a good
that-
podcast, man.
Yeah. In other words, just by faith, not by sight. I guess we got to. Me personally, man, I know a lot of people don't like to really rely on the Bible. There's all kinds of things people say. Man wrote the Bible and it's been altered and this and that. Okay, I get that, but it's like I still believe that what the Bible says is real. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good
To
stuff.
each his own. And until next time.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. All of the above. Hit the bell button. That helps us out a lot. like Chris said in the beginning, if y'all like to be on the podcast, hit us up. Let's get into some conversations, either about you or something that you know that you want to talk about. So yeah,
sounds good, man. Yeah, I'm around. I love the debate. You know, if y'all got some ideas or whatever, some things y'all just want to just see us go at it, let me know. Put it in the comments. I'm always checking the comments.
God bless y'all, man.
God bless.
We out.
Until next time.